All right, family. So today we're gonna get into true biochemistry. If you haven't been in any of my master classes where we're teaching this valuable information, I've taught everybody the foundational information, the stuff that Sebi brought to us. But now we're gonna take it on a deeper level. We're gonna take it intercellularly. So now today we're gonna talk about protein building, what they call the building blocks of life. So we're gonna go into the amino acids, and y'all know what Seb used to say about amino acids. So we're gonna get into it because I feel like this is the information that everybody needs to truly understand for us to reawaken to our true power as carbon-dense beings on this planet. It's very important for us to understand this valuable information of our cells, how they are formed, how they are built upon due to mineral structures, which are called proteins. And then we'll truly begin to understand the smallest level of our existence to the largest granular scale of our existence, which is the trillions of cells which are projected to you as we see here today. All right, so let's go ahead and get into proteins. And today we're going to be talking about the structure of proteins. So let's hop right in and let's get this thing started. All right, protein structure from granular to intercellular. So proteins are responsible for many of the essential functions of life, and their function comes from their structure, which is determined by their sequence. So how does this linear sequence of amino acids dictate the fold and the three-dimensional arrangement of a protein? I already know this is already a little bit further than where people might be mentally about proteins and understanding cells, but we're really going to break it down. So make sure you take notes because it's all going to make sense at the end. All right, it's all going to make sense at the end. So a protein is a linear polymer or polypeptide of amino acids, each linked by a peptide bond, and these peptide bonds are highlighted here in yellow. So a protein is a linear polymer or polypeptide of amino acids. So what does that mean? That simply means, as we'll get into in the next slide, all amino acids are created from minerals. So when these minerals connect themselves by hydrogen bonding themselves to each other, this is how proteins begin to build themselves. This is how proteins begin to be created. All right. So most amino acids are formed from carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. But two of them have a sulfur atom. They all do their job most effectively in the natural alkaline state of 7.4. This is natural pH for anything when we're talking about biochemistry. If we're talking about biochemistry, we're talking about the body, the chemistry of the body, whether we're talking about a physical body, the chemistry of a living organism. The favorable environment for proteins is an alkaline environment. So we're already starting to open some things up here. And as you can see on this graph, these are a few amino acids. As you can see, they thrive optimally. Even the ones that are a little more acidic, they thrive optimally when there is an alkaline environment of at least 7.4. Okay, so I just wanted everybody to truly begin to start understanding alkalinity from this aspect. Just because the body contains acids such as the hydrochloric acid in the stomach, operates most effectively when the body is at an alkaline pH, which is 7.4. So the first amino acid that contains this sulfur atom, the first one is methionine, which is shown here. And methionine is essentially a hydrophobic residue. So we'll get into hydrophobic residues. Hydrophobic residues help amino acids bond themselves together, what they call hydrogen bonds. So this is a hydrophobic residue. This is a residue that's used within hydrogen bonding. Hydrophobic residue requires water. So I just want everybody to understand that. And as you will see, it has the CHO arrangement, the carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen arrangement with an additional sulfur atom. In Harvard or anywhere else that you go to school for biochemistry, they won't tell you this, but anything that is branching off of this essential alpha carbon here, they don't have it labeled. They expect you to know this. The carbon is this right here in the middle. This hydrogen, this plus H3N, this hydrogen, this sulfur atom that's coming off of this alpha carbon, also this oxygen, it needs the carbon as a basis to build itself upon. So all atoms within the body, before we even get into the full structure of a protein, at the smallest molecular structure of the protein are the atoms of oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen, with the carbon as the basis. The carbon is the basis for all life. So this begins to show us the true granular scale of carbon and why it's so important for us to understand, because we are nothing but carbon, as carbon dense beings. All right, so that we're gonna keep it moving. All right, so the second one is cysteine, which is a sulfhydryl group, and I'll get into what sulfhydryl means in a second. This group is interesting because it is quite reactive under physiological conditions. All right, as y'all can see here, we know this is the second amino acid that has the sulfur atom, but it's a sulfhydryl group. So this means we got the sulfur as well as we got hydrogen. All right, sulfur atom grouped together with a hydrogen atom, which becomes a sulfhydryl group. So, you know, we're going to hear a whole bunch of these words that were built, and we have to understand that was created by a man, and we have to begin to truly understand what these words that were created by man truly mean and what they are defining. All right, so we're going to break down a whole bunch of different words in here today. All right. All right, so this is a sulfhydryl group, and this is the second type of amino acid that contains a sulfur atom. All right, as you can see still here, the carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen as the basis for the building block of creating this amino acid structure. So I like to call these mineral structures. As I made a post not too long ago, I like to call these mineral structures because they are made from minerals. They are made from carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. These are mineral elements. All right, so these hydrophobic mineral structures are what proteins basically are. All right, hydrophobic mineral structures. They are built from minerals, elemental minerals. All right, so we have to understand that first, so we can begin to truly understand why it's so important for us to have the minerals in our system, as well as to keep our bodies hydrated. So one of the reactions it can undertake is to be oxidized to form a disulfide bond. So cysteines can react to form these disulfide bonds under oxidizing conditions. All right, those are conditions often found on the extracellular side, whereas inside cells, conditions tend to be more on the reducing side, which means that the cysteines will be found in the reduced form, such as an example of a healing wound. On the extracellular side, we'll see these things oxidizing to form disulfide bonds. So think of a healing wound and how the tissue structures have to create these disulfide bonds to recreate that tissue, because we know that everything in the body, all the cells in the body are created from what they call amino acids, which are these mineral structures. So we understand why cysteines are used in an example such as a healing wound. We have these tissues that are rebonding themselves back together to create the layer of the skin. I wanted y'all to truly understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying these things and not talk over y'all. You know what I'm saying? I want y'all to truly understand, because there's a lot of people that talk about biochemistry, but don't truly take you to the true essence of what they're talking about so you can understand it. You know, they may understand some levels of it, but you need to understand it. All right. So to get you to understand it, I wanted to be able to give you guys this information as well as show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right. As you can see, if you have a wound or a tear in the skin, the oxidization process is going to create these disulfide bonds to bind these elemental structures back together, these amino acids together, to repair, to rebond the skin. All right, to rebond, to heal that wound. All right, same for the reduction process. It's the reverse. We are starting to see why minerals are so important, why the body must have its minerals. So the sequence of amino acids that make up a protein is called its primary structure. And there are 4 levels of structure that make up the 3-dimensional structure of proteins. So the primary level is what we just explained. The carbon, oxygen, hydrogen and nitrogen structures that are created, which are bonded together to create a primary structure that can now be a building block, a true building block for proteins. Because now that we have that primary structure, these primary structures can be built upon to create these secondary structures. And the secondary structures, of course, can go on to create the tertiary structures, and the tertiary structures go on and create the quaternary structures. We'll get into tertiary, secondary, and quaternary structures here in a second. All right. So as Sebi used to say, there is no need for acids in the body. There's no need for acids in the body. He used to say this all the time when he was asked about proteins and amino acids. But technically, he was right, because all amino acids are made up of the CHO arrangement, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, which is an assortment of minerals and elements with carbon at the base, as I explained earlier. The body is made of minerals. There are 102 plus minerals that exist within the body, to be exact, as well as these same amount of minerals exist within the soil, because this is how fruit and vegetables and anything that grows naturally also obtains those minerals. It also obtain their nutrients for them to grow and be as big as they are. Those same minerals are in the soil. So this is how those plants, fruits, and vegetables obtain those minerals that we know that they have, like a burdock plant, like the drago tree. You get what I'm saying? I just wanted y'all to truly understand that Sebi was talking way over y'all head. So he already studied biochemistry. He was a biochemist. This is what inspired me to go into biochemistry, But I wanted to get the most effective teaching of biochemistry on the planet, so y'all can so I can break it down so we can truly understand it. All right. All right, let's keep it moving. Now let's get into secondary structures.
If you enjoyed this video, it's a probable guarantee that you're gonna like this one as well. So go ahead and give it a gander, and remember to keep it cosmic.